So at this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Bruce Apar, who's going to say a few words.
Okay. Well, you're all witnesses. I've just been pinned by Jim Casey. Hope somebody got a photograph. Well, thank you all for being here today. Our family knows all too well the meaning of something like this and how emotional a day this is. It's easy. I mean, I do write for a living. It's extremely easy to write about somebody like Brendan. So please bear with me because I have a lot to say. Dreams do not come easily, but if you stretch enough, nothing is out of reach. Actually, Harrison Apar spoke those words at the 2000 graduation of the Mildred East Strang Middle School ceremony. Brendan Frail, who was in middle school when he named this field, lived those words. I'm sitting on my back porch this morning, and I'm listening to the sweet music of birds chirping. Actually, our back porch faces this wetlands area over here. But the sweetest sounds of all I heard this morning, and that we hear at this time of year, is the sound of the crack of a bat against ball, kids at play, parents cheering, here at Harrison Apar Field of Dreams. I'm sitting in my office a couple of days ago when my cell phone rings. The voice asks, "Is this Apar Field?" Well, not exactly, but how can I help you? A man from Bedford Hills says that he has a travel baseball game here tomorrow, and he just wanted to ask directions to Harrison Apar Field of Dreams. A few years ago, I'm at a barbecue at our temple when a congregant introduces his young son to me. "Jacob, this is Mr. Apar." Jacob blurts out, "Do you own Apar Field?" Every time I hear Harrison Apar Field of Dreams, I hear Brendan, and I see Brendan, and I feel Brendan. We're doubly reminded here today that life is frail. Brendan Frail was full of life. A big smile that lights up the room, a quick wit, smart as a whip, a social butterfly. That describes Brendan. It also describes the young man. You're going to pin me again.
Twice in one day, that's okay.
I know. It also describes the young man he selflessly memorialized. And now Brendan, too, is justly memorialized in the same place, a place for which he can claim immortal authorship. Brendan is being honored here today because as a 12-year-old, after only a dozen years on this earth, he had a strength of character, a strength of will, a boundless energy, an extraordinary generosity of spirit and charity that could convince an entire town to honor another young person whom Brendan knew actually through Kieran, his older brother, who was a friend of Harrison's, by naming a field for him. Without fully realizing it, Brendan Frail accomplished what nobody before him had accomplished in this town's 232-year history. Brendan Frail named a public place for a child of Yorktown. And Harrison Apar Field of Dreams was the exact name that Brendan wanted from the start. He insisted the name had to include Field of Dreams. And it strikes me that, again, a 12-year-old, that kind of verbal flourish, which was the product of a very savvy and nimble and sophisticated mind, so impressed the late Dick Huffield, one of the Parks and Rec commissioners, that I remember sitting in the meeting when Mr. Huffield told his colleagues that their recommendation to the town board to rename Pine Tree Field must stipulate that it be called nothing other than Harrison Apar Field of Dreams to ensure that the name resonates for young people playing here with hope and the promise of the future. And now Brendan and another kid at heart, me, were here just down the road in September 2003, a couple of days before the field was to be dedicated. We both wanted to be present when the new town sign was erected by a Parks and Rec crew led by John Schroeder. And I cherish the photo I have of Brendan standing next to one of the sign planks while it was still on the truck, not yet mounted, with that patented smile stretched from ear to ear. And I told Brendan in that moment that he would not fully appreciate what he had accomplished until many years later, blessed with the illumination of time. Because today and for all our tomorrows, we profoundly appreciate anew what he accomplished, not only here, not only then, but throughout his vibrant life. The truth is, I don't think I'll ever be able to wrap my mind around what Brendan Frail did for our son and our family. For while a field or a bench can in no way replace our children, they can help to dull the pain. They pay homage to those who made our lives more meaningful. They objectify those we no longer can touch, but whom we always will feel and love more each day. In its own way, what Brendan did for our family was an act of mercy. And in Brendan's own way, it was done without one iota of self-importance. It was an act as spontaneous and genuine as Brendan and the rest of the family Frail. This is a family of noble character to whom attention must be paid, not because they call attention to themselves, but because they do not. They just do the right thing because they know it to be true in their heart and soul. Their behavior, their carriage, especially in times of tragedy, is a life lesson that teaches rather than preaches. It cannot be more fitting that Diane and Frank Frail's son and Kieran's brother join Elisa's and my son and Alyssa's brother as the angelic sentries standing vigil over this now doubly hallowed place of play. Some may call that ironic, but for me there is no irony. There only is the loving gratitude and life's blessings we all feel watching over us here today, literally watching over us. And from this day forward, because Brendan Frail, like the person he selflessly memorialized, gave his family, his friends, his neighbors, the gift of a lifetime. His. Thank you.
All right. What do we think?
Mr. Lewis, you better take off that red sock hat. The next person I'd like to call up to the microphone is Robert Davis. Mr. Davis.
Hello, how are you? When Diane asked me to speak today, I was honored because it was an honor to know Brendan. When my wife and I moved here 8 years ago, we were blessed with great neighbors. The first time I met Brendan, there was a big smile across his face, and he introduced himself to me and my wife. And from that time on, I became known as Mr. Davis,